We are back. F1 25 is here, and that means it's time to simulate 10 seasons to see what happens. Very strange transfers, new champions being crowned, and more will all be covered in this video on the new game, so make sure to stick around. New year, same graphics. Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But anyways, into the results. We start in season 1 where the rookies got royally screwed over. Hadjar was beaten by Lawson for VCarb, Doohan scored no points while Gasly got 17, Bortoleto actually matched up well with Hulkenberg as Sauber finished last in the Constructors, and Behrman was beaten by Ocon comprehensively. The Williams improvement this year transferred into the game, which put Sainz and Albon in 10th and 11th with good hauls of points for both. As we move into the top 9, we see Alonso chilling in 9th. This is pretty much just the results from my prediction video, and that included Antonelli in 8th. Hamilton actually managed to get a win for Ferrari while being in 7th and led the early parts of the championship before tailing off. Piastri was way down in 6th but still got 2 wins and yet still ended up behind Russell, who couldn't steal a win this season. Leclerc was in 4th, just 1 point ahead of Russell, and in the top 3 it's Norris in 3rd with 2 wins, Tsunoda in 2nd with 1 win, and Verstappen on top with 18. Is it a 10-year sim on an F1 game if Verstappen doesn't walk the first season? He cleaned up this year, getting 21 out of 24 possible podiums, and clearly Codemasters had forgotten to update the Red Bull's performance because they just dominated. Over 300 points ahead of second place McLaren? That's definitely not right. Other than that, all looks normal as Williams are a nice 5th, and Sauber was so bad that they finished behind the 11th team that I created. True F1 heritage. But that takes us nicely into the transfers. After one more year of Aston not being competitive, Alonso called it quits just before the Newey effect came into place. This led his arch nemesis Liam Lawson to join Aston, with Paul Aaron joining VCarb in his place. Yep. That's it. Don't worry, there'll be more transfers in future seasons, but for now, let's move on to season 2. It's a similar order in the bottom 10 as VCarb and Sauber both got 0 points, Alpine only got 1, and Haas got 6. Lawson managed 11th place with 20 points, and with that, Williams get 2 cars in the top 10 as Albon was 10th and Sainz was 9th, a very equally matched pair. Antonelli was 8th once again with Hamilton 7th for successive years, and Russell was 6th with no wins as Piastri still can't climb up the standings and match his teammate. Tsunoda was 4th again with another win, and Norris was 3rd once again with 2 wins. Eagle-eyed viewers would notice that he scored the exact same points as last year, and no, I'm not lazy, he just scored identical points to season 1. For some reason, there's quite a lot of this in this sim, so comment down below if you see any more results like this. Anyways, this leaves us with Leclerc and Verstappen to fight it out for the title. And of course, it was Max Verstappen who won it. He got 17 wins and 572 points. McLaren scored identical points to last year and were a bit closer to Red Bull, but are still nearly 300 points behind. The order has remained the same, but with less points going out to the teams at the back. There's not much else to say, so time for the transfers. After not getting that 8th title in his 2 years at Ferrari, Hamilbob called it quits and set the sport into a frenzy. His replacement would be Lando Norris. This led to Mr. Ferrari ditching the team for McLaren, with Sainz coming back to Maranello and reuniting with Pando Porras. His seat at Williams was taken by Colapinto, and as well as this, Gasly would be replaced at Alpine by Ollie Behrman, with Bortoleto leaving Sauber for Haas and Maloney graduating to F1, joining the green team. There's a shocking lack of reg changes in this game, but don't worry, the order does change, and spoiler, Red Bull won't win all 10 seasons. Into season 3. I lost the original screenshot that just showed the bottom 10, so we can now see up to 5th place Tsunoda. But let's see, VCarb is still terrible, as are Sauber, as are Alpine, and Haas are decent. Stroll actually scored good points, and Lawson got over 100 and nearly beat Antonelli. Nature is healing as Sainz got another win for Ferrari, and Russell is still yet to claim a single one for Mercedes. Into the top 4, Piastri is starting to slowly climb with another 2 wins. Norris managed 5 wins in his first Ferrari season and was 53 points behind second place Verstappen, as Charles Leclerc managed to secure the title, the first season he was out of Ferrari. Doesn't that say a lot? It was very tight in the title battle as Charles won out by 11 points despite getting 4 more wins and 2 more podiums than Verstappen. McLaren take over as Constructors champions and Aston actually jump above Williams. Maybe Fernando was holding them back. But that's everything covered, time for the moves. After not winning yet in the sim, Russell would be dropped by Mercedes for free agent Gasly. Hadjar would also be dropped for Pepe Marti at VCarb, and Hulkenberg retired, leading to Zach O'Sullivan joining Sauber. After this season, it gets very weird, so stick around for season 4. In season 4, it's mostly the same, except the bottom 10 nearly all scored points. Only Doohan and Marti missed out on top 10 finishes. Sauber are getting better and Haas are very good. Unfortunately for them, Williams and Aston are just better, and Colapinto even got a podium in this year. Antonelli would drop a place to 9th, and his new teammate Gasly was just ahead of him but actually managed to win his second race. Albon was a great 7th place with 194 points and 2 podiums as he destroyed Colapinto. Tsunoda continues to drop and Sainz got another win for Ferrari in 5th. Piastri was 4th with 3 wins and Verstappen has gone from 2nd to 3rd with only 3 wins this time around. So that leaves us with Norris and Leclerc. Well, it was Leclerc with another 10 wins under his belt and a bigger gap to 2nd this time around. McLaren obviously stay on top in the constructors, but Williams are getting up there and are now ahead of Mercedes with Red Bull dropping to 3rd. The teams at the back, apart from Alpine and VCarb, are actually starting to compete, so that will be interesting to see in the next few seasons. For now, it's time for the moves. Sainz would be dropped by Ferrari for the 2nd time and was replaced by Leclerc? Why the hell would he go back? His seat at McLaren was taken by Antonelli, who was bored of finishing 8th and 9th every year, but Colapinto would take that over finishing 11th every year and so joined Mercedes, with Lawson proving to Williams that he wasn't a bum, and he joined that team, leading Behrman to go to Aston Martin, Hadjar to join Alpine and Crawford to replace Paul Aron at VCarb. On to season 5. The points just keep increasing at the back of the grid, apart from VCarb and Alpine who are terrible. The loss of Lawson has hit Aston hard as Behrman was not able to pull Stroll along with him, and Haas have now overtaken them and comprehensively as well. Ocon managed to get 2 podiums, beat a Mercedes and help the team to over 200 points. Gasly beat Colapinto by almost 100 points as he grabbed yet another win, but talking about wins, Albon finally got his first with Williams, 9 years after being robbed at Austria by Hamilton. He went from 9th to 1st in a victory at Spa. Lawson was also able to keep tabs with Albon as Tsunoda continues to fall down the grid as the Red Bull gets worse. Antonelli finished ahead of Piastri in his first year at McLaren and even got 2 wins and another 10 podiums. However, we have a new Constructors champion as McLaren are definitely not winning it. Charles Leclerc would be 3rd and therefore would not win his 3rd championship, meaning it was between Norris and Verstappen, just like 2024. But it wasn't even close. Norris almost gapped Verstappen by 100 points despite only scoring 2 more wins and getting 3 more podiums than Max. He had finally silenced the doubters, and doing it at Ferrari proves your worth tenfold. This meant Ferrari were Constructors champions for the first time in over 20 years, and the order, apart from Haas closing in on Williams and jumping Aston, is pretty much the same. We would get a shaken up grid as well, as Marti would be dropped at VCarb for Richard Verschoor, and ridiculously, Piastri and Leclerc swapped seats, with Leclerc going back to McLaren after 1 season away. Colapinto would not be held on at Mercedes, and Tsunoda would move there, and Albon would be recalled to the main Red Bull team, 9 years after stinking out the gaff in 2020, with Paul Aron coming back to F1 with Williams. We'll have to see if this gamble pays off for Leclerc, or maybe it could be the start of Piastri in the save. He's been pretty unimpressive considering he's leading the championship in real life. Once again, the bottom 10 screenshot has been lost in the post, and so we see all the way up to 5th. What strikes out to me immediately is Piastri. Zach O'Sullivan got a podium? Sauber's first podium since 2012. What a sight that is. Anyways, getting back on track, Sauber are actually improving, which is nice to see as they finished ahead of Aston thanks to Stroll. Lawson managed his first win for Williams as the one stop in Imola worked out perfectly for him, and Aron proved that he too isn't a bum and scored good points for Williams. This would not be the year for Piastri as he finished 5th without a win, and in 4th was Verstappen. Leclerc would not get the title in his first year back at McLaren and finished 3rd, with his teammate Antonelli ahead of him in 2nd despite getting 4 less wins, and Lando Norris on top by the small margin of 4 points. Antonelli had the consistency with his 19 podiums, but Lando ultimately had more wins and won his 2nd successive title. McLaren get back on top in the Constructors by nearly 100 points, and Williams came 4th with Haas 5th as Mercedes have dropped to 6th. That's all for season 6, so it's time for the moves. It's big this year because Verstappen would retire from the sport after dragging Red Bull higher than they should be for 4 seasons, and he would be replaced by Russell. Doohan would finally be dropped by Alpine and it was replaced by Victor Martins. Gasly would get dropped by another team with Mercedes replacing him with Bortoleto, and this meant that Haas would replace him with a new driver we've never seen before, Taylor Barnard. And finally, to close out the transfer window, Piastri and Leclerc would swap seats again. Yep, Leclerc definitely has imposter syndrome, or they're both stealing data from their teams and then taking it back to their old teams. Every season. Yeah, this is a very weird situation, but hey, I'm all for it. Let's move to season 7. It's a very similar situation in the bottom 10 as VCarb lock out the back row, Alpine lock out the 9th row, and Haas have now fallen behind both Aston Martin and Sauber after their 5th place finish last year. Williams keeps scoring great points despite finishing 10th and 11th in the standings, and Aaron even managed Estonia's first ever podium in the sport. Tsunoda would keep falling down the order as he was outperformed by Bortoleto, and it looks like that second Red Bull seat is cursed even when Verstappen isn't in the sport as Albon cannot do anything. Behrman was an impressive 6th for Aston, and Leclerc was 5th on his 1 millionth comeback to Ferrari with a win. But finally, after 7 seasons, Russell has gotten his first 2 wins, and Piastri was 3rd with 6 wins for McLaren. 7 points ahead of him with 3 less wins was his teammate last season, as Norris finished 2nd to Andrea, Kimi, Antonelli, who dominated. Exactly 500 points and 137 ahead of 2nd place with 12 wins to go with it. If I'm being honest, there's nothing different about the standings on the left, so it's time for the transfers. The saga continues as Leclerc would swap seats again, but this time it was with Russell at Red Bull. Unfortunately, that's where the transfers end for Season 8, but at least Leclerc kept up the tradition of swapping teams every year despite this. But yeah, here's hoping the teams at the back can actually challenge the teams at the front, because VCarb being so bad every season is pretty annoying. Haas and Sauber are still competing, but they are way behind the likes of Williams. Oh yeah, and Tsunoda is still falling down the order. Lawson was 9th with another good season for Williams, and Aston would once again be held back by the brilliance that is Lance Stroll, as Behrman scored another good chunk of points. Bortoleto was way ahead of Tsunoda, and Albon has finally got that first win at Red Bull, but was still behind his teammate, although he wasn't too far back. Russell gladly took the seat swap with Leclerc and now is ahead of him in the standings, and once again, Piastri is 3rd, this time with only 1 win. That means there is 18 wins to be shared between the top 2, and 5 of those would go to Norris as Antonelli once again dominated, scoring 111 more points than Lando. You know what I'm going to say? The standings are the same. Time for the transfers. Ocon would be the first to move as he transferred to the retirement home, with Crawford escaping the back of the grid and moving up to Haas. Martins would move to VCarb and Kush Maney joined Alpine in his place. And finally, Piastri and Russell seat swapped. Leclerc's memory lives on. Boring! Haas and Sauber are now scoring good points among both of their drivers, as Maloney grabbed a podium for Barbados and helped the green team finish above the Americans and the other worse green team. There is only so much carrying Behrman can do. Aaron would finish ahead of Lawson this time around, and Albon fell back a place to 7th. Fuck. Bortoleto continues to score good points for Mercedes, and Piastri was 5th with 2 wins. Leclerc finished ahead of him in 4th with 0 wins but managed 10 podiums, and Norris fell from runner-up to 3rd as he got 344 points and 4 wins. This leaves us with both McLaren drivers, who, after everything that's happened, are literally just the Mercedes drivers from Season 1. Anyways, 2nd was Russell, and Antonelli becomes the first driver in this sim to win 3 in a row and not just 2. And he destroyed George. He's meant to have 533 points, so I did him an injustice by not giving him the 22 points he so dearly deserves. But yeah, apart from Aston falling from 6th to 8th in the standings and being overtaken by Sauber and Haas, it's time to move to the transfers for the final season. At the ripe old age of 35, having done 17 seasons in F1, Stroll retired from the sport. It's now time for Aston to win the championship. Okay, they got Maloney to replace him, there's no chance. Taylor Barnard swapped Haas for Sauber in turn, Colapinto came back to the sport joining the American team, and Russell returned to where it all started, in the sim. Mercedes, as Bortoleto finally joined the McLaren team as a driver. So that means it's time for the final season. I mean, at least there's a bit of change at the back. Vershaw finally learned how to drive and scored 8 points, taking VCarb off the bottom of the standings. Taylor Barnard would actually be the only Sauber in the bottom 10, as it looks like it's a very close fight in the midfield this year. Williams, Haas and Sauber actually look quite evenly matched for once. So let's see what happens. O'Sullivan, what a race! Indeed he did, in a crazy race at Austria where he started 14th on the grid and beat Norris by 5 seconds in 2nd place. Definitely the weirdest winner I've seen in some time. But still, despite getting a win and 80 points, Barnard held him back majorly as Sauber still finished behind both of the teams ahead of them. Anyways, Red Bull are in the same position as last season, Russell did much better than Yuki in his comeback season, Piastri got another 2 wins but not a title in this sim, and Antonelli did not get 4 in a row for McLaren in 3rd. Well, It ended up being Norris in second and Gabriel Bortoleto on top in first with 13 wins, almost 500 points and a comfortable gap to Pando Porras in second. A great way to end the sim as we crowned a new champion. While Bortoleto was cooking the grid in season 10, I've been cooking up a massive video talking about the 2021 season in depth, and it should be on screen right now for you to watch in a few weeks. Stay tuned. But for now, check out this video where I reverse the points of the 2020 season to see what happened to the standings.